Well, this might be inside baseball, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, and people could probably understand it. But when we write jokes, after a while, we do them, and we know where the laughs are supposed to land, right? And sometimes the audience laughs because they also understand the dynamic between a comedian and whatever, and you're supposed to laugh here, right? Right. And then sometimes you do a shows, and they're laughing like at weird intervals, and you're like, are you laughing at the way I'm delivering? And it totally throws you off. Isn't that strange?
It's so cool,
and
though,
you're like, I don't even know what to make of it.
What did I do?
Right.
Did I do something?
Did I do something different? Yeah, then we pick it apart for a week trying to figure it out, even though you'll probably never get that combo again.
Yeah.
When you're rolling, which I think is you meaning like everything you're doing, they're like, God, I love this guy. And I don't even care. I love the joke. I love the thing. I love his quirkiness, whatever.
The greatest.
That's the best.
But there is this element of getting that and then like that following, those same jokes the following day.
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
just like, meh. And you're like, man, what wave did I catch? You know what I mean? Like, it just depends. It's funny when you talk about writing a joke, though, because it is interesting in that as a comic, you have to, or in my opinion, how I see it, you are putting yourself in a position where you want to see what the audience thinks is funny about you. Like, you might think something's funny about you, but the audience will tell you what they think is funny about you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel when I go, like, oh my God, this is so annoying, that gets a laugh, right?
Right.
But then I'll start off a set with, oh my God, this is so annoying. And they go like, you're just complaining.
Right.
And so I go, it's the placement of the whammy that's going to give it whatever it's going to land.
Yeah.
So on the way down, drove to San Diego this weekend for a show. On the way down, the air conditioner died in the car. And I'm just sweating. And I got out of the car. I was like, I must have lost 12 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was like, I'm going to open with that
I
joke.
heard that.
Right?
Yes.
And then I was like, if I just go like, hey, I drove down from LA and my air conditioner died and I sweated 12 pounds out of my body. It's just like, fuck off then.
Right.
Go home.
Yeah.
Like, we're here. We paid money to watch you do a thing and you're just complaining. And I was like, man, I don't like it. I don't like how I sound saying it.
Uh-huh.
And maybe if it was 3 minutes in, it would be different, but I want to open with it.
Right.
And so the analyzing of like, why? How could I? And so the trick I came up with was, I had a great day today.
Okay.
I drove down from LA to San Diego.
Yeah.
And my air conditioner died. So now it's like, how is this a good day?
Right.
And I go, because now you're looking at a man who lost 12 pounds in one day.
Right.
And it resolves a twist.
Right.
But it doesn't start with a complaint. It starts with today's been a great day.
Have you been dreaming of traveling easy? We all know it starts with a dream and a budget. Why hassle with third-party vendors when Delta.com has the cheapest tickets for more than 100 destinations in the US and abroad right on their website?
Delta?
What? No more looking and comparing. We offer it all in one place and always at the most affordable price for non-sub destinations. Delta.com. Arrive already.
Delta?
Delta.com.
Delta.com. Thank you, Delta.
This host, I don't want to shit on people, but here we go.
Okay.
Let me tell you, this guy was putting everyone in a hole.
Ooh.
Every time, like somebody, there was like a new couple would show up and be like, hey guys, we got to know everybody else. How long have you been together?
Ooh.
How long is this? And kept pressing. The guy's just like, yeah, we're just on a date. It's like, really? What did you think the first time you saw him? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This guy needs shit. Before I went on, there was these Navy guys, and they specifically told him, some people, the worst thing in the world is calling them gay.
Okay.
If you call people gay sometimes, they take the most offense to that.
Of course.
And these Navy
Right.
boys are those people.
Right.
And he was like, you boys, you sailors, like doing a bit.
Uh-huh.
And the guy's like, we ain't into that shit. Like, we don't disrespect, but we ain't into that shit.
Oh, no.
Said it thuggy plain enough.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy was just like, oh, how sassy of you. And I was like,
No.
bro, why do you do this? Then he's like, I'm going to bring up a good friend of mine, Jason Delgado. I was like, I do not know this man.
He brought you up to that?
He brought me up to that with like, and then I wound up winning that guy over because we're both Puerto Ricans from the Bronx. Thank God. I was like, we should start a newsletter, bro. Look, thank God.
Yeah.
But he did that for every comic. Like, he'd make fun of somebody's hair and then go like, this next comedian is really funny. It's just like, why are you doing this? For every person who's going up, you're putting them in a hole.
Is this a prank show?
It was terrible. It was embarrassing. But it taught me so much about hosting. Like, oh my God, how not to host by this guy.
And then he brought you up.
Let's bring the sassy boy. Hey, sassy boy. And they were like, stop that shit. It's like, why are you doing this, sir? What do you want? So I was like, how's the energy? How's everybody doing? Try to win it back. But like,
no.
Dude.
Was he new? Did he have material, or was he like?
He had no material. He literally did a TED Talk like we talked about last time. Hey, how about you guys? Know where you're from?
Right.
How long have you been dating? Oh, it's awkward. It's awkward. We should talk about this. We're going to talk about this awkwardness over here. And nobody's like, woo! Yeah. Everybody's like,
yeah, right on. The thing that you have to possess. Obviously, there's tons of things. People are like, how do you do comedy? I'm like, I don't even know where to start with you. Are you a? I don't even. We've been doing it for so long. You know, can you have a conversation with anybody?
Yep.
How are you with tone? Like so many things.
Yeah.
So
tell me a
things.
story. Don't be a comic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you're asking me that, don't.
Yeah.
Probably
Sebastian
just don't
tells
do it.
that where he's like, you could tell if somebody's gonna be a cook, like how they tell a story.
Yeah.
And he's like, growing up in an Italian family, your story couldn't go long because they'd be like, forget it, never mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the idea of learning how to tell your bit in the certain amount of time without elongating the boring parts. Like
so many pieces to being it. And I'm not saying this necessarily to like pep us up. I just think I was trying to talking to my wife. What's the one thing I ask her? What's the one thing that you have to possess as a comedian? And what do you think that you need to have? What's the one thing you have to have? I'll answer it on my own. But what do you think?
No, what do you? I mean, because mine is like I think people gotta like you, but I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Like this has to be. I don't know if it's charm, if that's the right word, but there's something about. I think it was Johnny Carson's like 90% is if they like you. Right. 90% of it is just people. Just you get up there, like Will Ferrell walks on stage and people immediately start smiling. Like him. Yeah. Adam Sandler.
Right.
You could say it's like the goofy or the voices or whatever. Yeah. But what was your?
I guess. Well, my wife said she thought, and I guess I agreed that it was just that you have to be very self-aware, not necessarily an empath. But you have to be self-aware of how you fit into
100%,
the world.
100%.
How what people say affects you, how what you say affects them, whatever. You have to have that.
1,000%.
You can't be socially unaware of where you fit walking down a sidewalk or doing anything. Mm-hmm. How taking a shit in a truck stop affects other people.
And how you feel about it. That's the thing.
Right.
I had someone tell me the formula for a joke is it new, is it true, and is it you?
Okay.
And so I kind of always throw jokes through that filter where I
Give it to me again.
Like, is it new?
Okay.
Is it true?
Uh-huh.
And is it you?
Okay.
So if, taking a shit at a truck stop.
Right.
The thing about for me would be I'm so embarrassed that this is happening to me in general, that my stomach failed me, that my eating habits failed me, and now I'm in a truck stop.
Right. I still don't know what necessarily people think of me on stage other than what casting agents have booked me for or whatever, if I was doing commercials and that kind of stuff. So as a comedian, I'm fine with saying right now, I feel like most of the work I'm doing and in the stage that I'm doing, this like 2 minute, 3 minute, getting past 5 minute, whatever. Sometimes you get to go to a thing and do 7 minutes and then you get past and really cool, whatever. Great. That feels really nice. Most of what I'm doing, this does not sound cool for me to say, so I'm very insecure about this, but the truth is most of the time right now I am mimicking a stand-up comic because that's what I got to do to get past the guy with the 5 minutes. I know what you think of me. I know what blah, 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 blah. If you just let me go for 10, 12 minutes, I won't have to spend 9 years trying to figure out what my fucking voice is because I'm already...
Yeah, 1 minute, go.
And it's hard not to, for me, I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm now older, and I just turned 48 last week. I don't want to say it, but I just turned 48, and I know who the fuck I am in the world. Now I got to do it for Sandy at the fucking Chuckle Hut.
Got to
It's
play
the
the
game.
ball.
And I know that comedians will say, I just listened to a podcast with Pete Holmes, and I like Pete. He's fine. But I know when you get bigger, it's real nice to talk about the art of stand-up, and that's great, and I want to do it, and eventually I stay in here long enough to be able to figure that all out.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm selling mozzarella sticks. I get it.
After a joke where you tell it and it doesn't hit, and there's this like...
Yeah.
To get out of that, your next jokes have to almost like triple down just to get you out of the deficit. And I don't want to blow up your spot, but you did a great bit at Flappers where it was involving the president. I don't want to ruin it, but you were rolling. Like, then you were like 5, and I don't want to give away the joke, but like you kept escalating the joke, and it got funnier, and people went, and then like it got bigger. And I think it's this, he recognizes where we feel about it.
Right.
And he's throwing coal on it to keep the train going.
That one kept rolling, and they just kept going.
But then you'll see the opposite.
Right.
Where it'll go, brit.
Yeah, I did it. I did it the next week. Same thing. Now I've had to change that thing, and I'm already self-conscious about, why am I even saying this? It's only got a short lifespan on it. And then I've noticed something else because of that joke recently, and I don't know how I feel about this, but I've recognized it in myself, and maybe it's an age thing, but I am finding that as I'm getting older, and maybe it's social media, I find myself being like, I know I have an opinion about that worldly thing, and I never really did topical stuff a lot in the past, but there is a part of me where I'm like, man, I want to say something about that. And it's because I want to be heard. Yeah. It comes from the same place where I'm like, I want my parents to hear me. Yeah. Somebody pay attention to me in high school. All that same thing. And I want to be heard. And now that I feel like, I'm getting some chances now to say some things in an audience where people could be around it, and I could say a new take on a thing, and I let my brother know that I wanted to talk about a certain topic, and he was like, don't do that. And I was like, but I want to. Yeah. I want to get into it. And I don't want to do it because I want people to be angry. I want it to be funny. But I think it's a new take, and I want to say it. And he's like, you'll die. Yeah. And I was like, but I want to. And I was like, is that bad? That I have I don't know that I've felt that before.
Louis talks about how, like, he's like, I tell a joke, and people just stare at me. They get mad at me.
Yeah.
And it's like, that sounds like one of those jokes you're talking about where you're like, your brother's like, people are going to get mad at you for saying that. Like, you're going to ruin somebody's night for saying that. Yeah. And in your mind, you're probably like, but no, that's funny. Yeah. And it's the connective tissue between those two things. Yeah. And Louis talks about, like, where he says, he's like, the jokes that are the worst, hardest, most embarrassing to say are always the jokes that turn out the best.
Okay, well,
when
maybe
you wind up pushing through that.
So maybe I need to say it and just work through it. I know it's going to take a while.
Taking that embarrassment.
Yes.
You know, that, oh my God. And I will say, like, I'm terrible at it. I'll try a joke. If it doesn't work, I'll be like, 2 weeks from now.
Fuck that. I'm not doing it. It's ballsy. Yeah. But you know what? We're in a position too to give ourselves a bit of an out, is that we don't get the opportunity right now to burn a lot of shit. Yeah. I can't go bump somebody at the store and do 30 minutes if I fucking want to.
Feel it out.
Yeah. There's no feeling out. You're selling mozzarella sticks is what you're doing. And maybe we get to the point here where we're like, paying somebody's rent and I get to fuck around a little bit.
Yeah. Like, I know Birbiglia talks about where he was like, it took 5 years to get that first 5 minutes. How am I supposed to? Yeah. And it's like, it's so true.
But when you're resetting a room, I wanted to talk to you for the people at home, for my mom. There's you get a bunch of comics on it. Sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 50, and it's in an alley. I've seen it, and people just wonder. Anyways, and you get a couple of people before you go up, and maybe they do poorly or maybe they do great, whatever it is, and it changes the feel of the room. And then you have to go out and decide, how do I fit into the room? I mean, do I have to amp it up? Do I bring it down? I've heard comedians talk about the art of it, and they're like, you just go be you. Oh, well, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's nice, but that doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
And you have to reset it. What are experiences you've had resetting a room that worked and didn't work?
Like this last one where I was just like, I'm going to pretend that nothing happened tonight.
Okay.
I'm the first person that anyone's ever seen.
Okay.
I did say, how's the energy? We still got good energy?
Yeah.
Friday night, never met a Friday night I didn't like. Forget anything ever happened.
Right. You're like, I don't know.
But that's very lucky. What if I'm like, hey, everybody, my whole jokes are like this.
Yeah.
And there are people who are very funny.
Sure.
Who tell this? I saw like a string of comedians who all started acting like Gerard Carmichael.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So anyway.
Like bus stops, man. Dude, if you get 3 of those in a row, you like, hey, man, somebody just fire a gun. Just get things moving in this room.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You know, I've heard of people resetting the room famously after Kinnison, things like that. Like, how do you even do that? Well, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Like figuring out how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a real sleepy crowd on Saturday at Flappers, and I caught myself coming out and being like, "You okay? You good?
Yeah.
Feel good about it?"
Yeah.
Because a couple of guys came out and they were like, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we good? Dad, you all right? That was as much crowd work as I got because I was
So
like,
good.
I got to say it. This
So
is
good.
Dad. And I was like, and
So
then
good.
sometimes I'll say, it's all right. My credit score is good and I'm driving. I'm going to drive for a little bit. Let Dad drive for like 5 minutes. It'll be fine. You can take a nap if you want and let him know it's okay.
Sometimes
that
I
works, sometimes it
I don't know
doesn't.
what the Venn diagram of that is. Like
Yeah, I
I
don't
couldn't
know.
tell you. You have to have been in enough shitty rooms to go like some little instinct kick to me that tells me.
Yeah.
I
And
got
I'm sometimes I'm really surprised by it. Somebody will go out there and make a strong choice in the complete opposite direction that I will do. And that must be, it doesn't make sense to me probably because it's not my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And they find it. They're like, AIDS. And you're like, AIDS? AIDS was the thing? Oh, I didn't know they wanted to talk about sex and AIDS. I didn't know that. I could that's not true. I don't have anything.
Thank you for listening or watching to the Getting Up podcast, the podcast about comedy. Please like, subscribe, add our channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.